they put the dead. Oh, they're trying to fool. The police run in the shadows, think they're getting away, 'cause they made the rules. I'm not gonna pull over my
So are you visiting Edinburgh or are you staying?
I'm staying here for 2 years already.
2 years? Studying?
No, working actually. Yeah.
What you working on?
I'm working as quantity surveyor.
Oh, right, excellent. Yeah.
Well, the first time I came here, I started working in a hotel as waiter, as everyone else who's coming from abroad.
Oh, right. And what do you survey?
I'm working mainly in buildings, structural accesses, refurbishment. Yeah, so I'm servicing.
It's interesting in buildings, like, you know when you look at buildings in the horizon?
Yeah.
You know, because we're supposed to be living on the curvature of the earth. Have you ever seen a building leaning backwards?
Leaning backwards?
Yeah.
Well, I know the most famous one in
Pisa.
Yeah, the Torre Pisa,
but that's damaged though, isn't it?
There's summits. And
but have you ever seen any other building in the distance leaning backwards?
No, probably not.
Don't you think we should do if we're living on our globe?
Should do seen buildings.
Yeah, many miles away. Don't you think we should see it leaning backwards?
And there are many far away.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. No, not really.
Because it's supposed to be a curvature of 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah.
So for every mile, it's 8 inches.
Yeah, it's like
drop.
well, for our eyes, I think that's not perceptible. So I think we cannot.
But on a clear day, we can see over 100, 200 miles. So should we not be seeing a building leaning backwards?
Not forward. Maybe like kind of spheric building, something like that. No, but not lying backwards. Like you know what I mean? Like bubble. Like span on the.
Do you think we live in a globe?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
In a globe.
Is there any doubts to that, or?
Well, as far as I'm aware, there's no doubt at all.
No doubt at all.
No.
What if I put to you that we weren't living on a globe? Would you think I was crazy?
Well, yeah, not crazy, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about, to be honest.
Could you tell me why you think you live on a globe?
Because there's like physics laws. And
could you name one?
It's like it's really tough for me in English because I don't know how to say that in English. It's like the gravity law. So.
Do you know gravity has never been proven?
It's never proven.
Never been proven.
Well, if you drop an apple, that's
density.
Yeah.
Density explains why things drop. Because the molecules in that apple is heavier than the air.
But they should be attracted by something because, well, there's like I don't know how to say that, like physics explain that like big mass of a thing attracts to other things.
Has that ever been proven though?
I think so. Well, I know the physics, but
no, I'd say it's never been proven. Right. So that's a theory.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I'm really a science person, so I'm not being like I've studied physics at physics, but as a building engineer.
I mean, I'm not a science person either, but I've researched it and looked for evidence of gravity being proven, and it's never been proven. There's no evidence. It's just a theory, and that's why it remains the theory of gravity. That's why it's called the theory of gravity.
So how do you explain that you're working on your feet right now and you're not falling down?
But why would I fall down?
Because if you're not attracted to the floor you're walking through right now,
my body weight density keeps me.
But if you blend over, you don't fall down.
That's to do with balance and coordination. But there's no evidence of any.
So why do we float on the space?
Well, does space exist?
The space exists.
Can you prove to me that space exists?
Well, it's outside.
Sorry?
It's outside the space.
Yeah, but can you prove to me that space, the vacuum of space, and space travel exists?
I cannot, but there's many people who can prove it, who have been actually outside in space.
Is that proof though?
Well, if they're not cheating on us, I guess so, because we have like international space.
Yeah, but if I showed you a picture of the Loch Ness Monster, would that be proof it exists?
Well, at the very end, if I can't see, I can't believe, but...
Yes, well, exactly. Yeah. So it's a belief then, isn't it? Because we don't have any first-hand experience.
Well, yeah. Well, but there's, you have to believe in someone who has proved it.
Well,
it's like I can prove yourself that my name is Alvaro and I'm from Spain because that's my living, so...
Yeah, but I have to accept that as second-hand information.
Yeah.
But I can't prove that. You can't prove that to me right now.
Right now I can show you a picture from my hometown or whatever.
An image could be anything.
Or even my ID proof.
Like, yeah, okay, that's evidence, yeah, if you showed me that, yeah, that's first-hand evidence.
Yeah.
But you don't have any first-hand evidence of space, do you?
Well, every night when the...
So what do you see up there?
Stars.
What are the stars?
I don't know, the moon, or the planets. We have telescopes to see other planets.
Are they planets?
Our galaxy, we'd see like the Via Láctea galaxy over us at night.
How do you know they're not just lights you're seeing?
Well, they're actually lights.
Yeah. How do you know they're not lights?
Yeah, they're lights because any star is emitting light, so we've seen the light.
Yeah.
They've been emitting like...
Yeah. But how can you prove that they're solid planets?
Well, you see the moon, don't you?
Yeah, but you only see the moon in 2D, like a disc shape.
Well, you can see any other planets from the solar system with a telescope.
Yes, but you only see discs, don't you? You don't see 3D. You don't see a sphere.
But if you see like my fist, you see like its volume. You know, it's like.
Yeah, but you can't see the volume of these distant planets. All you're seeing is a disc.
But if the planet is moving on himself, like turning over.
Yeah, but we don't see the other side of the moon.
No, but we can see the Earth from the outside.
Do you know that Robert Simmons, who works for NASA, came on a radio program recently? He creates the blue marble shots of Earth from space, and he said they're photoshopped because they have to be.
And you have to believe him instead of the other people.
Well, he works for NASA, so he designs these pictures.
I guess there's many people proving the opposite. So why do you tell me that you believe in one guy rather than 1,000 guys?
Because you look at a lot of other 1,000 pictures and you see anomalies. You see them inserting CGI into the picture rather than a real photograph. So these are all CGI or Photoshop. They're not real pictures of Earth. Now, if you wanted to prove Earth was real, you'd take a video camera and show the Earth spinning 24/7.
Well, yeah. The only thing you have to prove it yourself is like join NASA and go into space and go around the Earth.
But why should NASA do that? They're claiming it's real, so they should show some evidence. They should show evidence of the Earth spinning 24/7.
Have you seen any picture from the outside of the Earth?
Not a 24/7 video picture. No.
Mind you,
it doesn't exist.
Tons of photographs or videos from the Earth turning over and turning around the sun.
Only for short periods, and it's
even we have images from Mars.
Yeah, images.
Wow,
images.
Yeah, of course.
But how do you know they're real?
You see now images from myself.
But
how do you know that I'm real or I'm not real?
Because I can touch you.
If you wake up,
I can touch you. You're real. I can smell you. I can touch you. I can
even if you're dreaming, you can feel things.
Yeah, but I'm not dreaming now, am I?
Don't you? Are you sure?
Well,
do you believe it?
I could ask 200 people walking past here and say, are we here or is it a dream?
Are we in Matrix, maybe?
Well, I think we are in the Matrix if we believe in space travel and the moon and all that, because it's not real.
Well, it's your thoughts, your beliefs.
Now, if I told you this is the biggest thing on the internet right now, if you go and research this, you will see millions of evidence, people doing scientific experiments, proving that we do not live in a ball. Now, have you ever seen a ship going over the curvature of Earth?
But how do you trust any other evidence that shows that we are not living?
I trust my own experiments and my own observations.
All right. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. When people claim to see a ship going over the horizon.
Yeah.
Right? All you have to do is take a telescope or a video camera, zoom in, and you'll see the bottom of the ship again. Proving that the ship is not going over the curvature.
Yeah.
Right? So that's taken out of the equation, and that's natural observations you can do yourself. And nowhere in nature do you see water conforming to the exterior of a ball. Yet we're expected to believe that, but water does not.
When it's raining, you see all the drops.
Yeah, raindrops. Yeah,
Aye.
but they fall eventually, don't they? But nowhere do we see large water mass sticking to the exterior of a ball. But we're expected to believe that, although we can't prove it.
Well, it's years and years of physics and maths and biology and
But the physics,
chemistry, and there's a lot of science proving that we're living in a globe.
but there is no proof. That's my whole point. There's no proof. It's a belief.
Well, if you travel around the world, you'll see that we're living in a globe.
Why?
So, what do you think? That we're living in a kind of what?
I don't know. All I know is that we don't live in a spinning magical ball with bendy water on it. Now, if you're on a flat plane, you can circumnavigate all the continents and come back to where you were. You don't have to be on a ball to do that. You can do that in a flat plane.
Been thought like
Sorry?
hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So it's been proven that we're not living in a plane or in a table size or whatever.
But where's the proof? I'm just asking for proof of that.
Well, I can't prove it. I cannot prove myself, but
Then why do you
there's
believe?
evidence.
Then why do you believe so much if you can't prove it?
Because I've been reading researches.
Yeah, but people could be lying to you though.
Well, if you expect that from everyone else who's trying to prove things, so you believe that everyone is cheating on us.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that they believe they're cheating on us.
All right.
They believe what they're being told, and like your teacher at school who told you at 5 years old you live on that ball, she didn't know she was telling you a lie because she just believed what she was told. So she's passing that on to you.
So who has the real truth?
Sorry?
Who has the real and the truth? Do you mean like who's right and who's wrong?
Well, if you do your natural observation experiments, like I just told you about a boat going over the curvature, it doesn't exist. And if the boat did go over the curvature, now correct me if I'm wrong, on the horizon it would have to be curving at the ends, would it not? Have you ever seen that?
Well, I can go farther away.
Well, it's not, if you watch amateur balloons go high up, you'll see a completely flat horizon. But NASA shows you curved horizons.
Yeah, from space you go, well, you see the moon, it's like it's a globe. Well, you cannot see that it's a globe. You see like a circle. So.
Well, yeah, a disc. You can't see that.
So you believe that it's actually a disc?
Yes, because
floating on space, like the sun.
No, I think it's just a light. It's not even a planet.
So the same with the sun.
Yeah, same with everything you see.
Just a light.
Yeah, they're all lights. There's no
what about the radiation we're receiving every day?
Sorry?
The radiation we're receiving from the sun.
Yeah, well, I'd have to see some evidence that they're anything more than discs. There's no evidence that they are. It's a belief. All we have is a belief.
I respect your thoughts, but
Sorry?
I respect your thoughts, but I think that's not true.
You thought it was crazy earlier on. You said that's crazy for thinking that we're not on a ball.
Yeah, I still believe so.
Saying you respect my thoughts. But no, I would ask you, just to go, would you go and see one video if I give you one video to go and watch?
Well, if you will give me, I will.
Because you cannot walk away from this video and think you still live in a ball. Right? It's called 200 Proofs on YouTube.
200 Proofs. 200
Proofs by Eric Dubé. Now, he goes through every point systematically, scientifically, and simply showing you the physical impossibility of living in a ball. And we've all been duped, we've all been conned, because we were conned when we were 5 years old. We didn't develop our own critical thinking. We were impressionable. We were naive. We believed what we were told from authority. But there's no freaking evidence that we live in a ball whatsoever.
Have something to watch tonight.
Aye, that's brilliant if you watch it, but
yes.
It's okay to put this on my YouTube channel?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Lewis.
Lewis. I think I'm in the sun, guys. We'll go around here. Oh, great. Good. This is your first time in Edinburgh?
Yes.
First time.
Now, what do you think?
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. Everyone's friendly, super friendly. Everyone's really pretty outgoing.
Yeah.
Going to take you to bars and clubs. Food's good.
Food is phenomenal.
Scenery's amazing. The old historic sites are good. I mean, I have no complaints so far since we've been here.
Now, you can tell the truth now. I'll turn the camera off.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, that's good. Can I ask you, do you think you've been told the truth about the world in which you live in? Through the media and the government and so forth?
No, not really. I mean, I wouldn't say you've been told the truth, maybe 30% of the truth, but I mean, that kind of stuff's up for interpretation. Like I feel like you need to like go out, when we've talked about this before, you have to like go out and get your own experiences and find out for yourself kind of. I mean,
there's so much out there that could be fake, could be true. I mean, you don't really know because, I mean, nobody trusts anybody anymore, so you gotta make your own opinion about stuff.
And there's a lot of touristy attractions here, and I feel like a lot of it's at face value. Probably some truth to it, but I mean, again, I don't think it really delves into what necessarily the truth is. So no, probably not. I feel like you have to kind of figure that out for yourself. Go out and experience everything and get your own opinions about it.
Oh, you're certainly getting well travelled for that, broaden your horizons.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What does reality mean to you guys? Do you think you're living in a reality?
Reality? I think it is what you make it. So yeah, I mean, I think reality. I think everyone's definition of reality is probably a little different. So I mean, if you feel like it's your own reality, then yeah. And
I mean, you kind of make your own. Yeah.
It is what you make it.
Yeah.
I can ask you, do you think your thoughts are your own thoughts?
I like to think so. So I like to think so.
I would. I would say so. I mean, I would like to think so as well.
I like to form my own opinions, you know.
And you don't think your thoughts are maybe manipulated or influenced in some way?
To an extent, I mean, by advertising and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I would assume that you get conditioned in a way to think.
Yeah, so subtly. I mean, through school, I mean, you learn obedience for however many years you're in it. So kind of like you're wired. Your brain's kind of wired towards that.
Yeah.
Kind of angle.
Way. So yeah, I can see the ways through advertisement, ways through television, and other maybe, I guess, rules society's built on that. Yeah, you are a little conditioned in a way, but I feel like once you realize
like a bias. Yeah, that's the way you think.
And I feel
based
like,
on how you're brought
up.
The
good thing is, I feel like once you do figure out that you are conditioned and kind of realize that fact, then you are up to make your own opinion.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe there's a point throughout maybe a good quarter of your life, then you're kind of conditioned, but then once you kind of get out and get your own world experiences, and it's kind of up for interpretation.
Yeah. How open would you consider yourself to listen to something of a different opinion to what you actually believe?
I think I'm pretty open. I like listening more than I listen to learn more than listen to respond. So I mean, I like to hear people's opinions, hear different points of views, and then I mean, it's just good to hear something different. I mean,
I keep the philosophy, keep a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing. So I feel like I like to be pretty open-minded, listen to opinions. And
well, I'm going to test you two guys on that right now, and
all right.
I think you will certainly hear something different in a second. May I ask you what shape you think the Earth is?
Round. I would say round.
Sure. Yeah.
And may I ask you why you both think that?
Well,
there's a couple things.
I guess I was based on education. Well, we've been taught pictures from outer space and the space station.
Also, I like to think
on the science behind it, of the way the Earth moves and moves around the sun. Again, I guess, which is all.
I see the horizon theory. Like you go and see so far because that's when the Earth starts to curve away from you.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things there, guys. I'll try and remember. You see, when you think you see a ship going over the horizon. Right, if you go on YouTube, you'll see hundreds of people doing this, and I've done it myself. If you take a telescope or a zoom camera and you zoom into that boat again, you'll see the whole boat again. You'll see the bottom of it. So what it actually proves is that it's not going over any curvature or anything. It's just gone beyond our line of perspective. We can't see that far. So that discounts that. I mean, have you ever seen the curvature?
The curvature? No.
No, not really. No.
But we believe it's there because we're told it's there.
You see it through pictures, but I guess never through personal. No, I've never seen a curve.
You can go on YouTube as well and see amateur balloons that go high up into the atmosphere, and it shows you a complete flat horizon all the way around. But yet NASA presents us with curved Earth pictures. Did you know they weren't real photographs?
No, I wasn't aware.
No, you got a guy called Robert Simmons who works for NASA who said on a radio interview recently that they're Photoshop. The blue marble shots produced every year. He created those, and he says that they're photoshopped because they have to be.
I've heard the theories about excuse me, not going to the moon, and the moon landing was taped in the basement and all that good stuff. So I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers. It could be.
It's open for interpretation. I mean, you
that's a great place to be. At least your mind's open, though.
Never been to outer space. Never seen it myself. So you know,
you can't take people's word for it.
This is all second-hand information, isn't it?
Yep.
We don't have any self-evident truth to self that we're living on a spinning ball. There's actually no evidence. If I'm saying there's no photographs, that these are photoshopped, and there's no curvature, there's no measurable curvature anywhere, and you can't see the curve. And it's a flat horizon. When you flew from America, was the horizon at your eye level?
I was asleep in those nights. I'll tell you
I
that.
really didn't look out much. It was overnighter.
Well, it's always at your eye level, no matter how high you ascend from a beach to an aeroplane. But if you're on a ball and you went further up, it would fall below you.
Yeah.
So proving that we're not on a ball. And also, when you fly back to America, did you know they're spinning 1,000 miles an hour eastwards?
No, I didn't know that.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour eastwards. So when you fly back to America, you're probably travelling 500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So how on earth could you fly against that spin?
Pretty.
You go backwards, would you not?
I guess technically, theoretically, yeah.
Yeah. And like at school, maybe 5 years old, the three of us were all told you live in that ball. Okay, we had a couple of questions and we're told gravity, blah 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 blah. And we never questioned it again, ever.
No.
Well, I never. Did you ever?
Never
seriously
came
question
to.
that?
No, it never came to pass to question it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I mean,
amazing.
I've thought about it sometimes, but I mean, never came to.
Yeah. I mean, I would go so far as to call it brainwashing. But this is probably the biggest thing now on the internet. And would you be interested in going and having a look further at the things I've said? Has it sparked any questions in you to think?
I mean, I could research it later on. You know, something definitely to research later on.
Yeah, there's something to look into. I mean, like I said, we're open to opinions.
Yeah, open opinions, open.
That's great, guys. It's refreshing to meet people who are open. And I don't expect you to believe anything I'm saying, but if you go off and research it, because I've been researching this for 3 years. If you look at a video, 200 proofs on YouTube.
Okay.
It's
cool.
200 proofs why it's not a ball, and it's self-evident truths. Science should be repeatable, demonstrable, measurable.
I agree. No, I'm a big proponent of science. Absolutely.
That's when theory becomes proof.
It should be demonstrating a working model with a ball with water on it. I mean, it is ridiculous, isn't it? Water going around the ball when you really think about it.
Yeah, it's wild. But that's why it's called theory of gravity, right? No one really knows, so it's just theory.
It's never been proven. So we accept that. And the gravitational pull, no evidence for that. There's so much to present us without any evidence. Like, if you go and research and try and find real footage of a rocket in space, I'll give you lots of money. Or a real satellite in space. You won't see any. It's all CGI cartoons. You know, as soon as a rocket goes off, they show you the rocket go off and then curving down. And then the next time you see it in space, it's CGI and cartoons. Why is there not a camera on these rockets to show us the whole journey?
The whole thing? That's a great question.
It doesn't exist, you know. And I know it may sound mad to you, because it did to me the first time, but this is the biggest thing on the internet right now. Millions of people are uploading videos and showing self-evident truths and experiments showing that it's impossible to be living on a ball. It's absolutely ridiculous, because we believed it when we believed Santa Claus, didn't we, when 5 years old?
Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, all that stuff. Right?
Yeah, and they get us when we're early. But as a thinking adult with independent, critical thinking, when you really think about that, water sticking to a ball, nowhere in nature does water behave that way. And did you know that the Earth is covered by 73% flat water on a ball?
So that's it.
And like, if you go to the southern hemisphere, where you get a river flowing north, now if you stand back and look at the Earth as a ball, that river should be flowing up the ball. It's madness. It's madness, really.
Yeah, theoretically speaking.
Yeah. Or an aeroplane flying down to Australia. An aeroplane always has the bottom at the ground. You always see the ground below the plane.
Yeah.
So the plane would have to turn upside down, would it not, to reach Australia? I just don't think I don't think we've engaged our critical thinking in this subject, because we just totally accept it as a belief rather than as a scientific evidence. So if you have a look at that, 200 proofs. 200
proofs, so keep it in mind, check it out, absolutely.
I don't think you could possibly walk away from that and still think you live in a ball.
Fair enough, I'll definitely check it out.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, guys.
No problem.
Martin.
Martin?
Yeah.
I'm John. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How open do you think you are?
In terms of?
To listen to something different which goes against the ways that you probably think about the world.
I would say very open.
Very open. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Good. Because I'm going to test that. Could I ask you what shape do you think the Earth is?
What was it?
What shape do you think the Earth is?
What shape? Well, there's the people who saying Earth is flat. I approach that thing. And there's the people who say it actually is a bowl. So hard to say. I had a look in the flat bit theory and the pizza theory, and it's interesting.
So you're very aware of the term flat Earth already then?
Of course, I'm a big conspiracy theorist. I need to go to jail. Yes, I'm aware of that, yeah.
So you probably believe like I did that we live on a ball from school.
Pretty much,
so
yeah.
We never really questioned that, do we, later on?
Yeah, I never questioned it until I approached this thing, which was maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, so.
2 years ago? Wow. Yeah. So you've been looking at this for about 2 years?
Well, I've been interested in what's going on in the world since you left the school and you start working, you know.
So I'm moving away from that lorry, that noise. Sorry.
Generally, you start questioning questions, and with the internet and all the things in these days, and the informations we've got, we can research easily. It's easy to question what we was taught in the school, you know.
Yeah, like maybe your parents, but certainly my parents, all they had was the television and newspaper. But like you say, now we've got all this wealth of information to gather.
It was only a TV or newspaper back in the day, and people, they didn't even think. They were exhausted from work, just sit on the couch and absorb whatever TV gave them, right?
Yeah, man, it's fantastic to see you're so open and at least you're aware of the subject and looking into it.
Fine.
Yeah. So where are you? Are you completely on the fence, or you still think you live in a ball? Or?
Well, I think someone called them kind of like a passive lefties. Like a passive lefty is a person who disagrees with war, half vegetarian and stuff like that, but still, you know, absorbing kind of a right-wing thing that work all day and stuff like that. So I work into like things like 9/11 and stuff like that, you know, and I think the reality is different. What the media is telling us. And it's with many things, you can name it, you know, vaccines, big one. There's so many. I've got a friend who's 50 and he lives in his own house in the Czech Republic, and he's really into these things. He taught me a lot. But you know, you don't have to be very tall. It's just that people are like, you know, they don't want to know the truth. And you can tell them all the facts and figures, you can tell them absolute truth. They're not going to believe it because they don't want to. They don't want to accept it. They like the imaginary world, you know, like family lunch at 5, TV shows, going to bed, going to work, performing, holiday maybe once a year. They don't want to hear that a lot of children died in Syria, whatever, bombing, you know. They just want to keep whatever they got.
And why do you think it is that they don't want to?
Ignorance, comfort and ignorance. Being scared of something new.
So what made you look into it then and not be scared and ignorant?
I don't know, it needs to be in you. It's like people always develop and research for other things. And if you're interested in it, well, I was always interested in history. So if you need to be interested, you need to have it in you, the passion, you know. It needs to be something that, you know, catch your attention. And
history's an interesting one. Do you believe everything that's taught to us about history?
Definitely no, it's rewritten history. Like good example is I'm from Czech Republic, born in Czechoslovakia originally. We were a part of the Eastern Bloc for like 40 years.
Yeah, I think I was there at the time when it was the Eastern Bloc. I was in Bratislava.
And obviously I found the book from 1966, and you should see that like the Western world was seen as a bad capitalist brother, blah blah blah. And you can see as a children of the 90s, when I was at the school, everything was different. It was like, oh no, forget it, forget Russian, we will learn English now. And you should see the history. Like suddenly there was wave of Americanized wave when the Americans seen as saviors, and they were mentioning so many things. You know, it's completely different. It's so funny, you know, how system changes. So definitely I don't believe everything. Same with conspiracy theories on the internet and everything. Some of them are crap. I don't believe in absolutely everything. I believe in something. You need to make your own opinion. I had a friend of my courier from London, and we always sit, you know, when there's nothing to do, and he said, he always bring this one, but he was so sure about it. You know, he had probably done his research. He was a really big fan of this theory. For me, hard to say. Obviously, it comes hand in hand together with moon conspiracy, and that some people have actually saying that we never been in space in the first place. Okay, so it's hard to say, but
so what you could do is you could research to see if you can find any video evidence of a rocket or satellite in space.
Yeah, that's
you won't find any.
Yeah, I think the interesting ones is the South Pole at the moment, because I don't think people really research the whole thing, and it's quite interesting. But at the moment, I can't really tell you my opinion about it, because I haven't digged this one that much through. I was concentrating on different things, you know, because this requires you to have a kind of a good knowledge of physics and stuff like that. And
do you know it's protected by the Atlantic Treaty?
No.
About 47 countries all signed a treaty that stops people from going there.
Yeah, that's definitely some kind of interest will be there. I think before the Second World War, US tried to do something there, so there will be definitely interest in this, and hard to say what is it, because I haven't studied it.
Can I ask you, have you seen this video called 200 Proofs?
200 Proofs? No, I haven't seen it.
Right. If you watch that, and if you remember 200 Proofs by Eric Dubé, but nobody can watch that and then come away thinking they still live on a magical spinning ball with bendy water on it.
Mm-hmm. The quite interesting thing, like if you go on a YouTube in these days and you look on a live stream, they put satellites live stream and stuff like that. Obviously everything can be faked, you know, in these days.
I think a lot of it is fake on the flat Earth scene.
Yeah. So, like I said, hard to say. Definitely, was it 200? What was the name of the thingy?
200 Proofs.
200
by Eric Dubé.
Okay.
You just put in 200 Proofs on YouTube.
I can check that, definitely.
Thanks very much. Do you think you've been told the truth about the world in which you live in?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
And where would you say you get most of the information about global things in the world?
Probably through media, like everyone else, whether it's newspapers or just online articles.
So maybe mainstream media? Do you go off and research on alternative media?
Not really. It's mainly just mainstream. I would only go for the alternative stuff with the local news when I was back at home.
Right,
so.
okay. And the thoughts that you have, do you think they're your own thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think they're susceptible to being conditioned or influenced by your environment in which you live?
It really depends on the information you hear, whether it's truth. But I don't think so.
No.
You
don't think there's a thing such as social conditioning where?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely social conditioning. But
so you'd agree we could be influenced then a certain
could be
direction.
influence, but it doesn't. I don't know. When it comes to that, it doesn't really matter to me.
Sorry?
It doesn't really matter to me. It's just very. I don't know how to explain.
Well, maybe the subject matter I'm going to talk about doesn't matter to you either. Then I'm going to put it to you that perhaps we're not being told the truth about the world in which we live.
Okay.
Through the mainstream media.
Okay.
For taking an example, the Earth. What shape would you say the Earth is?
Round, spherical.
Right. And then my following on question would be, and why do you think that?
Because you can see it from other planets. You can see other planets around and they revolve. There's no way we can revolve around seasons, around days of the week, hours, seconds. Nothing can be done without it being round and being orbited. And
the other planets, I think we'd agree they're round.
Yes.
I'd agree they're disc shaped, but how do we know that they're solid planets or they're spherical?
How do we know that they are?
Yeah, how can we prove it?
We can see them rotate.
But you can see an image rotating, couldn't you?
Yes.
You can see a hologram rotating, or
you can see
a film.
Well, coming from further planets, you can see how it rotates through still images, and it's not as if they can.
Or I could project,
change the position of the camera from which.
Could I project still images onto a disc shape up there, and you think it was revolving?
There are certain ways you could, but there's too many images of a thing revolving that it just doesn't work that way.
Okay, but the moon doesn't revolve, does it?
It does. It just revolves and faces us while it goes around. So as, say this is the face of the moon, and we're revolving, it revolves too, but it revolves at the same speed that we revolve, so we only see the space, or the face of the moon. Yeah.
So why can we not see a satellite going around the moon so we can see it in its full circumference?
Why can't you see a what, sorry?
A satellite going filming the other side of the moon.
Looking at a massive planet, a massive moon, and saying, can you see a 2-story house, is impossible. It's simply too small. But whether, if you did have right cameras and stuff like that, you probably would
apparently you can see the flag on there, and you can see the mirror for the lasers to hit, can't you?
I haven't seen them. I don't know if I can comment on that.
Apparently they're firing lasers off the mirror the astronauts left there, so they must be able to see it to locate it.
Yeah, well they probably can, with.
Yeah. Do you know that all these, the blue marble shots you see every year from NASA?
Yes.
Yeah, Robert Simmons is the guy who created them.
Oh, okay.
And he said in a radio interview, which you can research online, he said that these are Photoshop, they're not real photographs.
Oh.
So we don't have any real photographs of Earth as a ball. What do you think of that?
I don't know. What can you say about the live streams that you can get from NASA or the ISS?
They don't have a live stream 24/7 of spinning ball Earth, showing things like lightning, rapid cloud formation, and stars in the background. That doesn't exist. They have little time scales shots of an alleged ball Earth going around, but we should be able to tune into that 24/7 and watch it spinning. But we can't.
From what I'm aware, there's at least 6 channels that you can watch whenever you want.
Yeah, but not 24/7. You can't watch it for 24/7. Like you know how you can go onto Google Earth and watch things 24/7. So why can we not do that with?
I don't know about the Google Earth, but I know NASA and ISS have the 24/7 channels.
Have you watched 24/7?
Yeah, I've seen them quite a few times.
So have you seen Earth spinning for 24 hours?
Well, of course I haven't watched it for 24 hours, but I've never heard of it not being able to stream before.
I'm just putting to you that we don't live on a spinning ball. Now, I believed that wholeheartedly all my life until 3 years ago when I started researching it.
Okay.
We have no photographs of it, and we're supposed to believe that water can exist on a ball. Now, I believed that at 5 years old, but now, as an adult with critical thinking, show me evidence of how water can exist on a ball.
Can I ask you, how can you explain seasons if the Earth isn't round?
Well, seasons can work on a flat plane. where the sun and the moon are a lot closer, and they just revolve round to different degrees going in and out.
And you think that it is flat?
Well, I'll put it to you that 73% of the Earth is flat water. 73% of it. How can that exist on a ball?
I don't think it's flat water.
Well, it's 73% of the Earth, something even say 80%, is covered by water. Now, water always finds its own level, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's through gravitational force.
Well, we're told that, but what's the evidence for that?
Huh?
We're told that, but I was asking where is the evidence for that?
Newton's law.
And where is the evidence for that?
How things are actually able to drop.
Yeah, but, I would say density explains how things drop. Like if I drop this bag,
Yeah.
the molecules of that bag are heavier than the atmosphere, so it drops. The molecules of a helium balloon are heavier than the atmosphere, so it rises. Now that explained everything before the theory of gravity came into being, which still remains a theory because it's never been proven. Now, for us to believe that gravity can hold vast oceans to a ball evenly and not hold down things like insects, smoke and feathers, and you know, there's no evidence for that. And my critical thinking is well, where's the evidence? Gravity's never been proven, but we're supposed to adopt that. So therefore, does it not become a belief rather than a scientific empirical evidence? And I'm sure you agree, science has to be demonstrated, repeated, and measurable. So where's this working ball model with water on it? We can't produce that because it doesn't exist. And Henry Cavendish, who claimed that he measured the gravitational pull in the 17th century, there's no evidence for that. I mean, that should be repeated today in universities and schools and on television, so we can all verify that. Yeah, I can see that gravitational pull. Yeah, and then they go on about claiming they found the gravitational waves, but we don't ask for evidence. We just believe that.
Where do you believe is the edge of the Earth then?
Well, I'd put another question to you and ask you, why do you think there's an edge?
Oh, you say is the Earth what?
Big Bun?
Sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Well, you asked me where the edge was.
Yeah.
But I'd ask you, why do you think there's an edge? Why do you presume there must be an edge?
Well, there has to be an edge.
Why would there have to be an edge?
We can see the sun setting and rising, which means there has to be an edge.
Well, I'd question why you can't see the sun. We've been programmed to believe that's what we're saying.
But yeah.
But I would suggest that the sun is merely going beyond your perspective rather than going down over an edge. It's going up. You can go on YouTube and see videos of this, where the sun gets smaller and smaller and it just goes beyond what you can see. So it's not actually going down anywhere.
I don't know, I'm just going by the Andromeda galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy and how they've seen the stars. You can see the star and planets revolving around it.
Yeah, well, for me personally, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is up there. It could be anything. We could be in a planetarium and it could just be lights for all I know, because they can't prove that. There's no empirical proof that they actually exist, you see. All that we know about space travel, galaxies and so forth is just second-hand information which we can't verify. Do you know that I would give you a lot of cash now if you were able to go and find footage of a rocket or a satellite in space, real video footage.
Like live, or what do you mean?
No, not live, just video footage of a rocket in space or a satellite in space, because you won't find it. All you'll find is CGI and cartoons. You put into your phone and put in rockets in space.
Well, say I'll do this. Bad. Where is it? Come on. It's taking much longer than I thought.
That's okay, it's no rush. It might actually take you longer than you think. In fact, confident you're not going to find any.
As you can see, here's a bunch of like from. We've got NASA HD, we've got TTV network. There is live from the International Space Station, NASA television.
Do you want to try and open them and find a real?
I'm trying to, but it won't actually load.
Oh, right.
Actually, won't load for me. This is very strange.
Because what thousands and millions of other people will say, as well as I will, that there's no real footage of a rocket space or a satellite. And I'll put it to you that all space travel is fictitious. And
and if satellites doesn't work, how do you explain satellite television?
Well, if you look at the satellites, are they pointing up towards the space? Are satellites
normally points south or east? No, east.
Yeah, well at a slight angle.
Sorry,
they're not pointing up to space, but I believe most communications are land-based, and even if there was some signal up there, they have such things as drones, high-altitude balloons, which can go for months through solar powered. So there's no actual evidence or proof that signals are coming from a satellite in space. And the fact that we've got no real footage of a satellite in space begs to question the validity of satellites in space.
Okay.
Because you won't find any real footage of them. And the International Space Station, that's filmed underwater. You can go on YouTube and you'll see huge bases in America where they actually train underwater on a huge, giant International Space Station. But then you can look at some of the pictures in space and you see bubbles come up from the astronauts' helmets. And the ones who are supposed to be suspended inside the International Space Station, you can clearly see harnesses on their back. You can see actually one person in the background shooting past with a harness being hung. And then you see some of them bend over and you see the harnesses underneath the floor. So this is all fake, and we buy it because we totally agree that we've total faith in authority, and we believe we've been told the truth, and that's why I asked you where you get your information from, and unfortunately mainstream media is controlled, and our sense of reality is not reality at all, because we're living on a flat plane. We're not living on a magical spinning ball with bendy water on it. It's actually ridiculous when you really think about it. You know, water existing on a ball. There's nowhere in nature does that happen to water, does it?
Is that not centripetal force though?
Beg your pardon?
Centripetal force?
What do you mean?
You have a moving objects are able to move outwards or inwards. Centripetal if it's outwards, cylindrical if it's inwards. Because of a rotating force, something is able to actually force itself inwards or force itself outwards. I think it's cylindrical going in, centripetal going out.
Yeah. I mean, I get these theoretical explanations.
Yeah.
But I'll just have to ask, well, what's the evidence that we're spinning? We're supposed to be spinning 1,000 miles an hour, going around the sun 67,000 miles an hour. And I look at these leaves and these trees and the still water, and I think that's impossible.
Okay.
But would you be interested in going off and looking at yourself? Some information
Probably.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Can I give you one video which is probably the most popular, which wakens people up from believing they live on a
Go for it.
spinning ball? It's called 200 Proofs.
200 Proofs.
By Eric Dubay. You could put that on your phone if you want. It's a fascinating video, which you couldn't possibly walk away from that and still believe you live on a spinning ball.
I'll just put it in my notes section because the internet's terrible here. I don't know why. 200 Proofs?
200 Proofs by Eric Dubay.
ERIC or ERIK?
Sorry?
E-R-I-C or E-R-I-K?
E-R-I-C.
Dubay?
D-U-B-A-Y. I think you find it quite fascinating.
Okay.
Thanks very much for talking to me, man. Cameron, good Scottish name there.
Yes, it is.
I'm John, pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, John.
So, I just switched on the camera because you were talking about your interest in Bitcoins. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, it's the principle of decentralised communication and organisational systems that doesn't have a central authority. The concept is called peer-to-peer, which I view as equal to equal. It's a system that nobody has any other privileges that any other person in the network has.
And it can't be exploited?
It can't be exploited, yeah. They're basically they're almost like networks with a software as a constitution. They're programmed to follow a set of processes. Everyone can see that, and they can't be corrupted or changed or influenced for one group's benefit over another. So I love the idea.
Oh, me too, man. That sounds great.
Oh, it does. It does from an organisational point of view, from a financial point. Central banking is the great evil of the last few centuries, and most people don't understand.
I find out like the Federal Reserve in America, and they print money out of thin air, and it's private businessmen that own it, and then lend it to the government at huge interest rates, and that's why we've got the national debt. It's criminal, isn't it?
It's shocking. And there's all sorts of, if we, just as a small example, if we had a stable money supply, and as technology improves and communication improves and we get better at doing things, prices should go down, because the unit labour for each thing should go down, and that should be, therefore real wages should actually go up. £5 an hour now should be worth more in 10 years, and pension should go up.
But that goes against the philosophy of the elites in charge, because they want the poor to remain poor.
Absolutely.
And they need people to produce for a capitalist system to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe in freedom, so I suppose in principle I believe in the concept of a free market, which I know a lot of people don't. But I don't believe in the concept of anyone having that, and monopolised money is a massive evil.
And the big companies overriding the smaller companies.
Yeah, absolutely.
If a free market was regulated in some way, I think I'd be all for it as well. Yeah.
Well, I think it should be controlled by principle. The problem with regulation is you need a central authority to regulate it. You need one group making the rules. Right. Now, there are people that think there's saints out there, and you can give a certain type of people, a group of people, authority over their neighbours, and they'll somehow, I think people always and every way look after their own interests, their own family's interests, their own community's interests. So therefore I think the power should be with the... Maggie Thatcher came out with an interesting phrase. She doesn't believe in society.
No such thing as society.
No, I believe in that. But because I believe that power should reside with local community. To have local communities not allowed to look after themselves, and for having poor communities that every surplus that they earn they give away to another community hundreds of miles away. If local communities focused on looking after themselves first and foremost in an atmosphere of sharing ideas and best principles with other local communities, that takes away privilege, and we've never seen local communities taking responsibility because they've never had authority. And in the same way as in a business, you say to a business manager, I want you to take responsibility, but you don't give them authority. If we can give local communities authority, they will take responsibility.
But unfortunately, it's all become more centralised. Everything's centralised now, isn't it?
It does. And I think multi-million collectives were put in place by dictatorship.
Yeah.
And there's an argument that says that an evolution of these multi-million collectives should actually have nothing to do with true systems where nobody has any privilege. Because how can a system of extreme privilege where a small amount of people owned all the land and the people on it somehow have a natural evolution into something that is actually... And the answer, I think, is they're mutually exclusive. You need to rip up that model and start focusing on the right of a human being to own their body and the sweat of their brow. To think that a man or a woman can't go out and sow a field and then keep the proceeds, that they're forced to hand 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% to a centralised pot and not expect that pot to be corrupted and influenced by powerful people, I think is naive. I think most human beings want peace and prosperity, and it should be based on the principle of law, and that law, not a rule book written in the Holy Hall of Westminster.
Like common law.
Common law. The individual owns themselves and legitimate, not landowner property. Yeah. Those landowners were effectively violent land squatters that picked their neighbours off the land.
Absolutely.
But a small farmer who sows his own field, he does own that property.
Yeah, reap the rewards for his hard labour.
Exactly. What you sow, you reap. And we must challenge the principle that one human being has the right to steal from their neighbour and collectivise their neighbour. We must really, because surely what we should be shouldn't be you go to an ancient Roman and ask them what society, and they'll give you an evolution of where they've been from. Or in Victorian times, what we should do is it has to be based on principle, because the same answer of decency resides. We're all the same, that's the fact. We're all mortal beings, and the reason based on that is nobody can have any ownership over their neighbour. Any ownership. And once we have that principle that can be understood by even a 14-year-old kid, go to a school ground and say, right kids, you own your baby and nobody can steal your pocket money. Who would be delighted? The wee kids, the bullied kids. Because that principle of giving sovereignty to each person removes privilege and removes the ability of people to use violence against their neighbours.
So how do we get that principle back into the fore then, and away from this individual, selfish, capitalist society?
Well, it's an interesting... How does a libertarian or somebody who believes in voluntary interaction, who believes weirdly in the principles of thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill, it doesn't matter about your job title. I haven't given any money to Her Majesty's Revenue Collectors for 7 years, and I won't give to an organised... How does a libertarian act? First, people have the right to be in any collective they want. They have the right to be in any community. That's the interesting thing about a libertarian or an anarchist. They're not going to march down the street trying to change the point of centralised control for their benefit. They say, well, neighbour, you have the right to do what you want, but so do I, and I want nothing to do with your collective. So as individuals, there's no such thing as a collective. Theresa May coming on the news and saying we have to be stable and strong. What does that mean? We all have to set ourselves into a carbon structure that's stable and that we're all individuals. And once we start respecting the right of our neighbour, how do you do that? Start off as individuals and start thinking about how you can unplug from violent systems and start organising on systems that are based on voluntary interaction and peace. I will never ever give a penny to an organisation that kills kids wherever those kids reside. The British government may do good things, but so did Jimmy Savile. As soon as you have a group of people that are abusing kids and are allowed to, you should have nothing to do with them.
I quite agree.
And take the hard spiritual yards that then come from you taking a truly decent... a path that rips up tradition, that doesn't give any other human being authority that anybody else can't have. So how do we get there? First of all, we have to think about the steps that we take as giving our money to decent organisations, veganism, vegetarianism. It has to come from individual steps and talking about it and sharing that, not from violence. Militancy is unacceptable in any form, really. And a good example, one example I think of that is the Gay Pride March. I was in Gran Canaria, Playa del Ingles. It's a gay town, Gay Pride March, great. But for a Gay Pride March to go down a city centre freedom is a fruit that should be consumed discreetly. And the first steps, once we start taking steps of freedom, which really is a respect for our own sovereignty and our neighbours, it has to be about us taking the steps, sharing by example, and speaking about it only when people come and ask us. You know, I don't yarn on to most people about this. It's only when people ask me. I respect the rights of people to be in whatever collective. So all I can talk about is what I would do and have done, and I want to try and think about and get involved in technology and systems where there's no violence and no heavy hand of one human being and another saying, I'll take a wee bit of what you are, mate. Unacceptable. Even though we've been brought up, tyranny is the natural state of humanity, from emperors to barons to lords to priests, and it requires vigilant people to believe in the right of the individual to live their lifestyle choices and to respect that, and to understand that most people are decent and want peace and prosperity, but they need an idea and they need a philosophy, and I think that philosophy is nobody has law. Each one of us has the same rights, and if you see one of your neighbours demanding 20% of another person's income, I smoke cannabis, or putting your neighbour in a cage because of what they put in a plant into their own gob. So sorry, you're about to put that guy in a cage because he consumed a plant. Unacceptable for you and therefore unacceptable for every human being. So that's what law is. It's rights.
But I suppose you're just following common law, aren't you?
It's common law, yeah. It's common
Do you think
law.
people are becoming more informed?
Some groups are, but the mainstream press has also become much more centralised and much more focused on a particular ideology, and there's still a huge amount of people who are blindly.
Do you think your thoughts are your own?
No, we're all affected by where we've come from. It's,
Don't believe the papers, I don't believe the news, 'cause all that they serve you are opinionated views. So don't switch on my TV, 'cause all they do is lie. And I don't need no programming telling me what to buy. But I believe, I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free. I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in war. What are the reasons why they're for? Don't believe celebrities pretending to be what they ain't. Make poverty history, they say, both in the saints. But I believe, I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free. Don't believe the justice system will give you what you deserve. It's all around bad judges and Lucifer they serve. Don't believe banks are honest, it fleets you to the bone. And when there's nothing left to get, they'll even take you home. But I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free. I believe the truth will set you free.
I thought that's what helped gravity to take off. I thought there was balls up there.
Yeah, people believe there's balls up there.
Yeah.
And all they see is disc lights, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it fascinating?
'cause all that they serve you are opinionated view. I don't switch on my TV, 'cause all they do is lie. I don't need no programming telling me what to buy. But I believe the truth will set you free. 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 I believe the truth will set you free.
Yeah, quite radical. I had a consortium of people who have massive... In the Middle Ages, it wasn't just one person ruling, it was a consortium of the Pope, kings and lords all benefiting, and I think that's what's happened over the last... It's been a consortium of families like the Rothschilds, the Catholic Church and secret societies who have an interest in there being centralised power. So thinking about what the strategy for them, more, you know, if you're a dictator, you just want more and more, and you want to be the best. You want to look at guys like Genghis Khan, and you're competing with them. Your family's always competed with them. You think in a totally different way than your average Joe. Totally different way. And there's no dictatorship like a spiritual dictator. You know, the UN. If somebody came up to me and said, "Cammy, we've got this office. It's globalised power in one office." I'd be, what? Don't worry, Cammy. It's called the United Nations. Because it's called the United Nations, it's viewed in a spirit. Oh, it's all right. Those people we've never met with blue helmets have arrived. It's United. Everything's now. They're viewed in a kind of quasi-spiritual way, aren't they? When
Absolutely.
They're not.
No,
they're bloody human beings.
Did you hear about the lady who worked for UN? Can't remember her name, but she was a whistleblower.
I'm glad the smoke's blowing that way.
She was a whistleblower, and she claimed that the UN was getting involved in child trafficking because of all these poor countries, war-torn countries. There's a lot of orphans going about, and the UN were capitalising on that by human trafficking. And she wrote a book, and there's a film made about her, but I can never remember names. I can't remember who she is. But
you're a powerful person. You want to get involved in these businesses. One possibility is you target public officials have power over other human beings. All you need to do is bribe them, blackmail them, target them, and when you've got the resources to do that and really come at somebody, you can get anything from anybody. That's why that privilege should be removed completely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I personally believe the government are controlled by paedophilia.
Yeah,
as well as bribing the politicians. But that's mainly how they control everybody.
And there's a lot of horror about Dunblane and suspicions about it.
Absolutely.
Now, George Robertson becoming the head of UN.
And he gave a gun license to Thomas Hamilton.
Yeah, and he knew Thomas Hamilton.
Yeah.
Thomas Hamilton was a paedophile.
Yes.
Was that a beautiful move for two things? A, to get a politician on paedophile and have him forever.
Yes.
And then promote him right to the top of the UN.
Yeah.
And also a way, I personally believe that people have the only way you can underwrite a constitution is for the people to have. Switzerland has one of the highest gun ownership in the world.
Yeah, Switzerland, because everybody does the national service
model, yeah.
and encouraged to keep their guns. So Switzerland has one of the highest gun ownership per head of population in the world. And it's got one of the lowest crime rates.
Exactly. It's a serious, sober business, and they take it seriously and soberly. Yeah. If you take your gun out into the street, you have to get a written, which is fine.
They're educated.
Power corrupts. Yeah. And rather than looking at it, it's special, it's a special place, a mysterious place we find ourselves in. But I think to understand power, one should view us as human chimpanzees. That's a much better way of understanding power.
In a zoo, we think we're on a ball.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And a classic case of false science is the cut Earth model. I'm sure you know this, but the cut Earth, the model of the ball Earth, and there's a chunk, and you can see the molten. You know, the furthest we've drilled is 8 miles. It's total guesswork, but it's presented as scientific fact.
Yeah, I've heard 8 to 12 miles. Yeah, absolutely. But so much.
They try to go 12 miles, but they can only go 8.
So much is taken as fact.
It is, yeah.
And when you really look at it and investigate it, it's belief.
Yeah.
Nothing more than a belief. Yeah. And we buy it hook, line and sinker. I don't know about you, but I'm quite angry about the whole process. The fact they're still lying to children.
I've felt very angry about it, and I try and take a I really don't know what's going on, and I actually don't know what this consciousness is we're experiencing, so try not to be angry about it, because you get angry based on assumption, because you think something wrong has happened. Now, really going at a metaphor, we don't know what our consciousness, nobody understands ultimate causation. Nobody understands ultimate causation, therefore nobody truly understands what's going on. So I have got angry, but I try to take a...
And what do you mean by causation?
Well, the whole Big Bang theory, it's an effect without cause, which is magic. Intelligent, rational people for millennia viewed it as it had to be an eternal system. An eternal system means it's fact. It can't be born, it can't die, you can't have effect without cause, you can't have abracadabra. Come on, nothing, let's be having you. When you have an effect, you have cause, and because we know we're having an effect because we exist, there can't have been a start point, it's an eternal, which is fact. I mean, you look at fact can't disappear, and the only thing that we say is our own conscious presence. So I think at the very least, without believing it, one must ask the question, is this conscious existence fact? Is the light and the sound and the laughter and the cleverness and the ideas, did it come out of a magic hole? Or is that just what consciousness is, and we're just experiencing it? And just because we can't remember other things that have happened, can fact and the wonder of existence have come from, we're experiencing something and we're making all sorts of assumptions as to having a beginning and an end, but fact can't have a beginning and an end. And to believe in these temporary illusory states, after the big crunch there's another set of scientific laws. Temporary illusory states, it's magic without a magician. Here we are, fact, experiencing something. Let's at least ask the question, can fact, is there such a thing as fact? And if there is, kind of no beginning or end.
Are you talking about self-evident truths?
A little bit, yeah. So to answer your question, I try and look, when I do get angry about it, but I try and go a step beyond and try and feel spiritual about it.
Yeah, when I said angry, I suppose it's, I'm using the words, it's not literal anger, but it's just anger in a sense where, well, I feel aggrieved by that and I feel I should go out and expose that.
Actually, when I felt most angry, it's speaking to other people who don't believe any of it. That's when I get annoyed, and that's why I've stopped speaking to people about it.
That's where it becomes quite difficult.
But the presence underneath is the thing that's the constant, and therefore the only thing that I think we can take is the presence is the only self-evident truth we can ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's other things like I think water finding its own level is a self-evident truth.
In this current. Yeah, I do see what you mean, but it may be possible that our consciousness will evolve into something where there's no water, and therefore water isn't. Can it still be a truth if at some potential point of conscious development it doesn't exist?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be open to that, but then is that more a thought of what might be, what may be, rather than dealing with the actual reality? That maybe we could be in a dimension where water doesn't exist. Is that a sort of a thought rather than dealing with reality?
But it's about looking for self-evident truths, and I think my own view is there's zero probability that a future state won't have presence, but there is above zero probability that a future state won't have water. You don't know that water is a constant truth, but you do know that presence has to be a constant truth, because nothing can happen without presence, but lots of things can happen without water.
Can you give me some examples?
I don't want to claim that quantum physics has any fundamental truth about anything, but it does seem to suggest that abstraction is nature, and abstraction makes a lot more sense rather than something. Where did something solid come from? Who made it? But we can't actually prove that we're not abstraction. And quantum science, when you dig deep into what something is, seems to suggest that actually there's nothing really solid there, it's abstraction. So it's very hard in this water-based environment to say where some water doesn't exist. But
it is a water-based environment, it's everywhere, and your body's made up of 7% water.
Absolutely, and in this environment. But because the water can't actually really exist because it's abstraction, I don't think we can ever say something involving water is a fundamental truth.
The fact that water exists and it finds its own level, would you not say that's a self-evident truth?
In this space-time dimension, yes. Yeah. But I don't want to make assumptions as to what consciousness is and what presence is. You know, do I really think this red of tooth and claw with 3/4 of baby birds being chewed up by other birds is what being would be?
Pretty cruel, isn't it?
Yeah, surely conscious. And I actually think, how would an eternal consciousness behave? It would scare itself. It would give itself frights. It would, human beings scare themselves, do dangerous things.
Don't you think it would do the right thing always?
But when you're a thing that can't die, giving yourself a wee fright, particularly when the waking up will feel so good. If our future involves us waking up and slowly through physical things like realising how false our existence is, or what we've been given in one area is, and maybe waking up to other falsities, and who knows, maybe there'll be a lot of change quite simply, as you say, beyond our imagination, because as you say, we are constructs of where we've come from in our thought. I think an eternal multi-dimensional being that can create joyful feeling, giving itself a fucking fright, believing you're a defecating ape on a toilet that's going to die. Wakey, wakey, silly mind. Fact can't fucking die. Wake up. I think if I was with my mates and we were in eternal mind, you'd do that. You'd give yourself frights because you know you're going to wake up to your true, glorious. This is the theory. This is the proposition.
Do you think we can do that now in this environment, in this present time?
Yes, by not fixating on totally fixating on how we're feeling and our presence, and being honest and doing the right thing, but not getting upset by it. I think you can speak more honestly and do the right thing when you're not upset. So not getting upset by things and not letting it affect us, just doing the right thing. Yeah. And in the back of our mind, holding the hope that what we are is a mystery. And can omnipresence bugger off? Can omnipotence run out of juice? Maybe this is just a big, scary joke, and our aim should be to try and wake up from the prison of our own assumptions in their entirety.
But the most prominent paedophile associated with the Savile ring was a man called Edward Heath, who, you may recall, was Prime Minister and took us into the EEC. Heath was into little boys, and Savile was supplying them. A number of these boys were taken out of the Haute de Garenne home in Jersey. Savile was taking children from a children's home with the support of German assets in Jersey. What was happening was that children's homes in the Channel Islands, particularly Haute de Garenne in Jersey, children were being taken from these homes, boys, in the case of Edward Heath, as he was gay, and a paedophile, were being taken onto his yacht, the Morning Cloud. Savile was actually going out he went down to Jersey, and he was actually taking boys. There was another man involved as well, but Savile himself took boys from the children's home, where he was a guest, or welcome, onto the boat. So he was taking boys out onto Morning Cloud. Now, since Heath was well known, and since the boys were talking young men, the boys were murdered and thrown off the boat. That's why the BBC and the Cabinet Office have been so keen to protect Savile, why the Cabinet Office in the 1980s were willing to back Savile to the point of giving him a position of authority at Broadmoor, which is an absolute, you don't put a paedophile in charge of Broadmoor. The Cabinet Secretary at the time, who thankfully is no longer with us, Hunt, was also a paedophile, was in on this, met Savile, he was Catholic, met Savile, as did that very nice man, the late Archbishop of Westminster, Cardinal Basil Hume. Basil was not a paedophile, but knew Hunt and had a shrewd idea. He wasn't stupid, he had a shrewd idea of what had been going on, and I've no doubt was told to keep a lid on it. Hunt was in on it, so the Cabinet Secretary at the time was in on it, was aware of what was going on, was aware he had a Prime Minister who was involved not just in abusing young boys, but was murdering them as well. It's quite possible that there was a crewman on the yacht who did the actual murder. I'm not saying that he necessarily bashed the boys on the boco and tossed them overboard. He may have had somebody do that for him, but he was certainly guilty of murder under English law as an accessory or on the joint enterprise basis. Oh, if someone is inclined in that direction and you can supply them with boys, then you've got a hold on them, or girls. There's nothing worse for a politician than being exposed in the murder and sexual abuse of young people. And if you've got a politician who is abusing and killing young girls and boys, but boys or girls, then you've got a hold on them.